right, so what's going on, everybody? It's the holiday season. Just want to see what everybody got going on. What's going on with you, Sharon?
Well, listen, it's Thanksgiving. This is one of my favorite times of the year. So I am thankful, and I'm thankful to be here with each one of y'all. I'm looking forward to a lively conversation.
What's going on with you, Mr. Knowledge?
I'm just blessed to be here and just want to spend time with my family. You know what I mean? Around this time, I just want to be around my mom and my son and sisters and just, the camaraderie of just love. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I think that's one of the best things about Thanksgiving. Where people come home, you shut down, everybody, I don't believe in doing a lot of shopping anyway, but people look at it. I just think we need to just sit down in front of the TV with that second plate of food, watch some football, and catch up with our young people and our old people all in the same place. It's about family.
Absolutely. Family. I just want to rest, time to reflect, have family, bring it back together where it should be. So, right, y'all ready to get into this conversation? What we got going on? We got some hot topics a little bit, some things we probably will jog our brain about, but are y'all ready?
Yeah.
We ready. Let's do it.
So, as we know, Brownsville is progressing. Haywood County is progressing, and we just want to know, where each one of you see Brownsville in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe, or where you hope it will be. So, anybody want to take their role first?
I'll be happy to start.
Okay.
We a couple years ago we did a strategic plan for the city of Brownsville. We did a SWOT analysis. It's time to revisit that plan. We had about 30, 40 people at the chamber, and then we just said, what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? It didn't cost us anything, but it's good to put it on paper. I think one of the most important things we need to do is shore up our education system. We got to invest in our young people. I mean, it's no sense in talking about a plan unless we involve them first.
Right.
I think this community has a lot of good values. Right. We have a lot of home upbringing, home training that we just need to continue to implement in our young people and inspire them. I think that is the single most important thing we can do. Getting a plan for education, continue to get jobs here. So we can, to bring the resources and the jobs, the revenue comes, the hospital comes, affordable health care comes, opportunity comes, entertainment comes, all the things that come with that. So my biggest emphasis is education and creating a workforce, and so that people can fill those quality jobs, which we're trying to fight to get in our community.
Okay. Shaheed, what do you feel?
Where
you feel, or where you want to see Brownsville in the next 5 to 10 years?
I want to see Brownsville on the same level as like a Jackson, Dasbury. I want to see growth. Yeah. But in order to grow, we got to mend the mindset of the youth and the adults, because it's a gap between our elderly and the elders of the community, and then our young brothers and our young sisters. They're lost, and the pathway that they need to take is in the minds and the mouth of the elders.
Right.
And because we have nothing to connect the two, then we both lost. So if we can fix that, that alone will grow Brownsville abroad. If you go to Jackson, the youth and the elderly, they're commuting. Right. So the information and the knowledge that these kids need, their elders are passing it on. And you go to these cities that's growing, Oakland and all these things, they're getting the information from the elders. But when it comes to Brownsville, the only ones that probably progress are just the elders. And then the young generation is kind of in the back burner.
Right,
and then when it's time for them to step up, they don't know what they're doing, because ain't nobody gave them the tools in order for them to take charge. The next Bill Ross is back here.
Right.
But if he don't know that he the next Bill Ross, you see what I'm saying? If he don't know that he's next in line, and he don't go talk to Bill Ross to see exactly what he needs to do and how he needs to do it, when it's time for him to take that reign, or it's time for him to fill that gap, they ain't gonna fill it because nobody pushed them. So they got a place for him.
Right.
Penitentiary or the grave.
You all in the topics tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna dive on in.
You all in the topics.
So if we don't fill that gap, if we don't fill that void, we ain't gonna have to worry about talking about the next 10 years or the next 5 years, because it started now. It supposed to start then. It really started when he took office. But the problem is that we didn't come together. You got the older generation, they got a vision for what they want from Brownsville. Then you got this community got a vision for what they want Brownsville to be, and then you got these folk over here, they with the money they don't want to give. You know what I mean? So you got everybody doing now, and then we looking, and then we be like, well, what's wrong with the kids? The kids
Or
Struck.
emulate, or they emulating what they
I'm-
say.
I'm- go ahead.
Let me cut you off right there so we can let Sharonda get a little piece of that. So Sharonda, what do you feel or see? Where do you want Brownsville?
Well, listen, both of these gentlemen have really hit kind of where the heart of all of us are: education, our children, and then I always say, like, how can we marry the two things? What the elders have, their knowledge, and then I guess our age group is kind of in the middle with the energy, but then also with that same energy to be able to move, but to pass that along to our young people. And sometimes we're locked out of things because we don't even know what we don't know.
Right.
So we get in these things and we try to run these circles around when it is one thing to have wisdom, and I always say this: it is one thing to have wisdom, but it's another thing to have it and then to impart it.
Right.
So if you have the knowledge, then you also have the obligation to impart that to someone that's younger, that's coming behind you, that will say, here's really the lowdown of it, Christian.
Ooh.
When you got ready to run, you and I had a sit down conversation, and I said, this is what you do, this is how you win your race, and just what, and because I had run a commission race and I wanted to pass that along to you. The mayor passed some stuff along to me. When I hear Shaheed talk, I ain't trying to bite what he says, but it helps me to be able to grow. Yes. And so I think that we have to create a community within ourselves that we start to impart wisdom and knowledge to each other.
Right.
And not to be, and sometimes the wisdom and the that we have, that we're imparting, is not always nice and comfortable.
Right.
It's cutting and it's raw and sometimes it's mean, but if it's truth, then we need to hear it.
Right. So feeding off of that, I was in a meeting and I was told that a lot of young people are not interested in politics. Well, to me, like I expressed myself in that meeting, I seen that differently when you all had the cigars and politics. And it was a whole nother light. And I told those people, y'all are not engaged, because I seen a lot of hungry youth in that cigarette and politics. So elaborate on what that was about.
Listen, cigars and politics started out of after the election. We did not get the turnout of numbers that we wanted. We saw Mayor Rawls had a historic election in 2014. At re-election, nobody run against him. He did get complimentary votes. And then in the county election, we didn't get the numbers that we know are out there. We didn't get people going to the polls. So that disengagement led us to want to just kind of have a conversation, like, what you think about it, why you don't want to vote, what has been those pain points, what is it? So we started this conversation, and I'll tell you, after that, the night I was on cloud nine after the night, but even the conversations that I saw on Facebook that people were engaged and saying, I don't understand this.
Right.
Like, what do you mean the house? What do you mean the house? We took the house. We did the this and that. And so when people start to ask those questions, you're engaging them. And when you start to engage people that are going to vote, because here's how we do in politics in our community. If grandmama was a Democrat, then your mama's a Democrat, and so is that grandchild is a Democrat. And so what we have got to start now is to ask why. Right. Why do we believe what we believe? Who should we be supporting? When should we be supporting? And I say at Cigars and Politics, the time is now. We're looking at a race in 2020 for some presidential race, and then also some senators, some legislators on both the state level and the federal level. Our state house, 2-year terms. In 2020, everybody that was elected in August, in November, will turn over again. They have to run every 2 years. So the time for us to start looking at the who, the when is now. The why are we putting them in there? How are we gonna get people in the office is right now. And we have had a past tradition of waiting to make those decisions. And we need to start making those decisions right now at this table. This is who we running. This is who we gonna support. Because sometimes that message can get convoluted. It can seem like division, and we just don't have the time to let that go on. To continue to be our tradition, because the other sides are lining up now, and they're already getting who they're going to run for the president, who they're going to run in this seat. Democrats that won the other night, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, they are already looking at people to unseat different people. And I'm not saying you got to be a Democrat because you're black. Don't believe that lie. You don't have to be a Republican. I would encourage everyone, when you see any candidate of any carrying any whatever label, really look at them and say, okay, tell me what you about, and do your investigation, because it could be that person, if you're a Republican, that's a Democrat, could have the same values you have, but you never get past that because you stopped at that label.
Right.
We too often we see people switch parties to get elected.
That's true.
So and thank you for the support that people gave me. You're right. When I got elected in 2014, it changed the conversation. At least it should have. Well, for one thing, we didn't split the vote. Okay, and that has never happened before. So that was the biggest change to me, that we all aligned ourselves on one agenda, one motion. If you continue to do business today with the tools of yesterday, you might be out of business tomorrow.
That's right.
So we got to change the way we've been doing things. Things
Yeah.
around us have changed. We still, that plantation mentality still exists in our community.
Absolutely.
People that are comfortable on the plantation don't want it to ever change. People that leave the plantation don't want to ever come back because they've seen a better way of doing things.
Right.
I had a young lady call my office. They said, look, I left Brownsville 17 years ago and nothing's changed. I said, well, do you have any plans on moving back? She said, heck no. I said, well, how do you bring your tool set and your mindset to, even via social media, your family members, to change the way we think and do business? Whether we have the numbers here in our community. We have an emerging young population. We just have to communicate better together. So I think this is important, that we look at the blueprint, that we communicate how we want it to work, and we change. We true. If you want to see change, be that change. Be different. You know what I'm saying? And the people sitting at this table, I have to applaud all y'all. Have all stepped out of your comfort zone, and as well as I did, and stepped out. You were there leading the student protest. I fell back because you were taking the lead. Well, no, me since me competing with you. You had it under control. You know you need me, you call me. We're going to set a perimeter where everybody's safe. You know, harassment from the police department. So everybody has a role to play sometimes, and we don't communicate, and it gets convoluted. And that's what the detractors, your enemies, the people that want to see you fail, will hope that you will implode from the inside.
And they'll take, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, and then that's my next
They'll
question.
take that, your pullback or sit back to let Shaheed lead it, to say he didn't want to be a part of it. When we were walking off, you said, they got it. Like, so I'll just be their support because I see some strong people leading, so I'm out of here. Yeah. And that's exactly how it should happen, because if they didn't have the strong leadership, then of course, you could have stepped in. But if you got somebody leading and the voice is loud and the leadership is there, then you can shift your focus to something else and let the people that can do that do it.
Yeah, I can say I did hear that when he threw his hands up.
He said,
walking off.
Yeah, he said they got it. So let's go.
I said the media was there. I said, you want to interview people in the NAACP? You want to interview? You know what I'm saying? I was looking at, so proud of Malik, and I was standing right there at ground zero. You were there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I said what I need to say, and then it moved to a different level. Then I went back to City Hall. I brought all the teachers pizzas through the back door. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Everybody has a role to play, but it's all not. Once we get past being all about us, you, and about us as a community. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Right. And I know you spent time with Malik afterwards and all that. It's just, you know what I'm saying? And that is beautiful,
let's cut that off right there.
We could go all night on that.
Yeah, so this one is going to bring us to the next question, and then it's going to veer us to another way. So there's always two sides to a story. We both know that. So what, from official standpoint, looking out on the community, because I'm always an advocate for both sides, but you don't know the real until you get in there. There's always guidelines, right?
Say it.
I'm just gonna put this out there. We as black people, we only see what our side is until we get the education or the knowledge coming from both sides. Because I was that person. I don't have a special degree or a special, like people said in the meeting, a financial status to be where I am. I just did the work, researched, and did what I had to do. So what could we do better here to help from the other side coming in? I want you to answer the part, and then Shaheed go to the, answer the other side.
Before we answer, could you really elaborate on the question? To like, what do you mean? Like,
okay, from what can we do better as a community to bring those ends together? Like the adults, like you said, the older people are not joining with the youth. So
I think communication. One of the first things I've always said, I have an open door policy. I have an open door policy. I mean, you can come see me anytime. You know what I'm saying? I'll try to keep my schedule flexible, where you can come in and communicate a problem. And I think me as an individual, that's what I pride myself on doing: being accessible, willing to listen, and try to address problems. I also encourage everybody to work for the city of Brownsville. You don't necessarily have to see the mayor. Some people, I want to see the mayor. I want to see the mayor. I said, but you can talk to the guy in code. He's gonna take care of him. If you got a problem, then you come back to see me.
Right.
You got a police problem with the police department, you go talk to Chief Evans. You know what I'm saying? You go talk to Chief Debo. I make sure that they understand they have a level of accountability to make sure that we continue to make things work, whether people see it or whether they don't, or whether they agree with it. If they don't, we have a responsibility. And I think the communication is the key. This right here is a step in the right direction, but we got to sustain it. Yeah. Too often we start things and they fall off. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then I shoot Malik a text. How you doing? What you up to? How's school? You still playing? I know you're Jackson State. You still want to go to Austin P. We still got to keep our hands on on each other. You know, it's important. You know, we haven't had the opportunity to sit down and talk like this. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I'm willing. And I think as an individual, that's all I can say. I'm willing to listen, and I want to be able to be accessible for you to talk to. You, the people elected me to be a leader. Right. But I believe in serving leadership. Right. You know what I'm saying? If it's a job to be done, I do it. And so if we can if we can come together, we'd be so powerful. So I'm hopeful. And I'm very optimistic that this tonight will be the beginning of something big. We saw the students that did the student protest. They showed us. They showed us. They showed us how to come together and do something. But so we should use that example. My election showed that we put ourselves together, we can elect anybody we want to. Sure. You know what I'm saying? But then there's a level of accountability. So I don't want to be remembered as the first black mayor in the history of Brownsville. But I want to be remembered for the work I did, the change that we see. So if you want to see change, be that change. So and your question is, how do we change? Communication. I think you're right. The biggest gap is between the young people and the old people. Right. But if you don't start when they're their age, you when they get this tall, you don't even know their name. How you gonna tell them what to do? Yeah. You don't even know who they are. Right. At least it'll be a time you connect with their parents. Aren't you someone? You Bills boy. Right. You know what I'm saying? I went out to the SYS game on Saturday, and I saw Granddaddy because he approached me. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like, "What? You had a problem?" So I helped him. He felt comfortable talking to me, and I felt comfortable talking to him. Yeah. What happened in our little community that we lost touch with each other? You know, social media can be good. It can be used as a tool, or it can be used as a weapon. That's right. So my takeaway is communication. We got to communicate better.
I think that it's important to understand why it's a gap. When the elder generation are there, we got to look at what these young brothers and this young generation is facing. You got the gang culture, you got the street culture, you got the drug culture. All of these tools are used to divide, to blind, and to dumb down something that could be great. The problem we got in the community that they see is that we're not open enough to be that open book, because we go to them like we're perfect. You know what I'm saying? We go to them like we don't make mistakes, like we wasn't in that position. So here it is, you got a young man who don't know who they are. They have no definition of what life is and have no one to push them. And then you want them to walk a certain way. Wow. And then you telling them that I'm here, but you ain't open up that book to show you how I got here. Wow. The bumps and bruises, the trials and tribulations, the hurt and pain, the disappointment. I ain't had no daddy neither, or my father was an alcoholic, or these things that I had to face is what pushed me to be better. Right. What we do is once we get in our position, we there.
And everybody's blind to the microwave. Why did this generation want the microwave?
Exactly. But they don't want the oven effect. They don't want to sit there and bake the cake. They just want to cut the cake. Right. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I thought about. I said, if we took the time to implement something to grab their attention, you got them. Right. When these young brothers that age get ready to decide, because they're lost now, but when they get decided in their teens, when their mind grow, what they want to do, the streets got them that fast. Yeah, and it don't take nothing to get them. Yeah, when Bill Rawls ran for mayor, he went door to door, church to church, and he implemented. The same way Bill Rawls went door to door and church to church to implement change is the same way Bill Rawls gonna have to go door to door and church to church to get them to open up these facilities, to start programs to save our children.
Exactly.
Because if somebody in a high, I can get on Facebook and talk all day. She can get on Facebook and talk all day. But if he see it, they're going to move. First of all, this is the mayor. And I don't want to let the mayor down.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? Because he got a way that he can maneuver something.
Right.
The reason why our children is lost is you got to think about it. We gave them parks. But back when I was in school, they gave us parks and programs to go with the parks.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? If you send your child to the playground and nobody's there to govern them, but then they see the boy with the box Chevy with the 26s and 28s, the dope boy come through there, and then they struggling as a child, and they don't have no father figure. Then what you think they gonna you gonna take on that persona of what you see? So if our generation knew respect because we seen respect through the elderly, we are chasing respect to the point where we're not giving the respect back to the child. So now these young brothers and these young sisters are growing up disrespectful because we're chasing a dream. They face with reality.
Right.
We want Brownsville to be here. That's our dream. That's our goal. What is our reality?
Exactly.
The reality is that we keep on chasing the dream. That's all it's going to be is a dream because we have nobody. After we plow the ground, who gonna till it?
That's right.
Who gonna keep it up and who gonna continue to plant seeds for our generation?
Right.
So as a person, I'm not calling myself a spokesperson for nobody. I just see the need, and the need is that I was once a young man like that, and I got sucked into the gang culture. I got sucked into the streets because first of all, my father was in prison and he was serving 200 some years in the penitentiary. My uncles was on crack. I had no man in my life to govern. I had all the abilities and the knowledge to grow. Nobody pushed me. It took a farmer, Sweet Charlie, in Ripley, Tennessee, was my great uncle. And he said, Shahi, I can't show you much, but I can show you how to plant a seed. I'm thinking he was talking about farming. He wasn't.
Wow.
He was talking about I can put something inside of you that if you grow it right, it'll work. It was respect. It was morals. So I'm some people might say I'm disrespectful, but I'm really not disrespectful. I just talk with passion.
Right. Right.
I can give you something that you can't really get, which is love. If you got a love for something, if you got a passion for something, you're going to prune it. Everybody know what it is to buy flowers. But have you ever went to a flower shop to see how they prepared it? They cut it a certain way. They water it a certain way. It takes time.
They nurture it.
We want Brownsville to change dramatically.
Yeah.
Who gonna take the time? Because here we elected somebody. We put all this pressure on the shoulder, and as soon as something occurred in the media,
come on,
we down the man.
Yeah,
That's right.
stabbed him in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sat in here and took up for him.
Yeah.
You sure did.
Yeah.
No, he ain't did that. What a man with a family business look like stealing money. That's in my mind.
Right.
But that, we ain't gonna go into that. But I'm just saying, sometimes it take you to come outside of your comfort zone and just speak up for somebody.
That's right.
Sometimes it take you to come out of your comfort zone to do something righteous. If we want to connect the elders with the youth, then we got to implement something that can connect the elders and the youth. Now I know a lot of people talk about funding. If we can get church folk to come together and build a $500,000 facility, then you mean to tell me that we can't implement a plan and have Bill Ross come there and say, look, this is what we want to do. We want to do summer programs, and we don't want to ask the government for a dime.
Yeah.
So I need everybody in the state of in Brownsville, Tennessee, to donate $20. What's the population of Brownsville? You multiply that by 20, we got our summer program.
Yes. Yeah.
Where can we hold it? You got the WOW bid. You got the Old National Guard. You got these churches. Look, you are in these communities. Can you open your door Thursday and Tuesday?
Like it used to be.
From 3 to 5 or from 3 to 6 or from 12 to something. And in a reading program. You got teachers, you got principals, you got law enforcement that go in these churches. You mean to tell me we can't come out with a small plan just to get their attention? Once you got a child's attention, you can grow his mind. But you gotta captivate it. Right now, look, The phone got it.
And we talk about that all the time.
Yes.
We talk about it all the time.
Now what?
Yes.
Now what's the problem that I have with the cell phone? What's the games that they play? You got Fortnite. You got Call of Duty.
Killing.
All
Yes,
this
they're
is
violent, highly violent.
Okay.
And you mix that in with some music that's talking about killing. And the first time they have an altercation,
program
That's
where
where
what they thinking?
Absolutely.
I'm finna go and handle my business.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
But if you go ahead, I'm just
Listen, we can get into that phone. Listen, I tell my, if you don't stop tapping on that phone, it's a certain time we have to put that away.
Yes.
That has to go away because it has. I see a lot of, because I have a child that age. We keep saying him. That's my son AJ over there. Put that phone down, boy. But listen, but we have so much. The Fortnite, and then you got to know that everything on these phones, they move so quickly in those games. It messes with their attention spans as well. So when you have a child in school trying to sit down to learn something, and they've got that has regulated their mind like that, then they can't learn their fry sight words because it takes an amount of focus to get that done. And so I said all the time, we've got to put those away, because in third grade, there's a statistic to say at third grade, when they monitor, when they evaluate the reading levels of third graders, that is what those people that run jails, they project out. Then if that reading level is not where it should be, I've got him. And so let me go ahead and get prepared. I'm talking about a 2-year preparation, and they're preparing a prison for a third grader 10 years in advance.
And take your tax money and build it.
So we've got to that conversation and the communication and the elders connecting with the youth and us. You know, that's what we need to do. Now that's the how, that's the why, that's the what, but then now we get to the how.
And I have to say this because I'm Shahid. I'm like you. I think that our churches could do more, and I've said it in the church every time I've had a chance. It's a call to action. The churches have to go on beyond the walls of the sanctuary. How many people you pass on your way to church that needed a ride, that needed some help, that needed some encouragement? Teach them respect and love. That was our core, and I just think that we've become disbanding our churches and lost focus. And I believe in the Lord now, but I just know our church is going to do better. And I'm going to leave it at that.
The reason why the churches were so powerful in the 50s and the 60s, because our polls was there when we went to vote. When we had a plan, they implemented and they rolled it out. When they rolled out that 501c3, that tax exempt form, it took our power away from the church, because now in the bylaws it says you got to abide by the agenda of the government. If the government agenda ain't to do nothing for the community, and you take that exempt form, you ain't gonna do nothing neither. So majority of these churches don't want to get involved in nothing political, because when you're talking about community growth, it's slick political. Because if you save the community, if you can save Scott, if you can save Fairground and Scott, that's your votes, that's your next generation, them are your leaders.
Exactly.
Yep.
So if the agenda is to make sure that we don't get another Martin Luther King and we don't get another Malcolm X, then we got to give the church something, hush money. So the hush money is, if you raise 10,000, I'll let you keep that. Don't you help your community? You roll that plan out to 2018, and you can go in the church. No pastor is talking about politics. He's not talking about education. He's not talking about financial growth unless we want to build a gymnasium, or unless we want a new facility, unless it benefits nothing. Black churches in the United States of America raise $1 billion a month. That's nationwide. You know what you can do with $1 billion? That's $12 billion a year. That's hospitals. Them are jobs, but we're creating these jobs, and we're taking up this money, and we take our money and we put it in their banks, and they turn around and don't get you a loan on the dollars they just gave you. So now I'm going to take your money and prevent you from saving your own youth.
Wow.
Because I'm going to take this dollar and I'm going to build this prison. And I'm going to get around a table and it's gonna be CCA. And how big we gonna want this penitentiary to be? Because now they're funding their own demise. Yeah. Until we intelligently go to the table, we're gonna forever be a fool. I say it all the time. You can be a fool or you can be a damn fool. Which one you gonna choose? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's cut it off right there.
So listen. At some point, I do want to have this. Oh no, we're moving on. But at some point, I think we got to dive into what Brother Shaheed is saying about the church, the 501c3 standing, and how churches can operate. Because a lot of people want to say, I don't get into politics. Well, you need to. You need to, because that's where the audiences are. And if you gonna, a lot of people, what their pastor says is the law. And so they have a responsibility to say, this is good leadership, this is not. I don't want you to let me fall in a hole, and then you say, that 501c3 kept me from helping you. No, we need to educate them on what they can do, because there are some things they can do. Nobody from the RS is in your congregation every Sunday looking at what you say to your people. So we need to, they have the autonomy to do it, will they?
But see, this is the thing. If we watched Trump, what he did,
right?
Who was the first people that went to his office? Black pastors.
So let's cut it
if
right
you
there.
get me talking about the president, we're going to talk now. So
we're going to focus on Brownsville.
Okay. All right.
As we talk about Brownsville, we mean the whole area.
Right.
Okay, so brings me to my next topic. Everybody hold on to your seats. So I got a whiff of something, and I got the details from, Brownsville Police Department about a hoodie rule. And it hit me last night. Something I didn't know that happened.
Do tell.
But young man worked at Pig Sweet, was coming from Pig Sweet, got pulled over. He had his hood on, work material from Pig Sweet, because we know it's a freezer area and it's cold. He got pulled over. For what reason?
He looked suspect.
Suspect.
Wait a minute, hold on. The tail light went out. He was speeding?
Suspect. That's exactly what I got. But let's go on a little further, because I like to get all the details out. So it was said that the judge didn't kind of pull the rule in, didn't express the rule to this newer cop here. And this happened here. This newer cop, the rules wasn't expressed, or, enough details. He didn't get enough details. But the young man was pulled over, and we was just saying, like, what they could extend, what they could extend from. But the rule is, if somebody robbed a bank and they were driving a white car and they had a red hoodie on, that's, that's how they call it, foreseeable to pull you over. We're going to say that.
Right. Probable cause.
Probable cause.
Right.
So, but there was no probable cause in this matter. So, me speaking on it, that kind of bothered me. And that's exactly why I didn't want Brownsville to start going, because it brings up another thing of what we see and have our young men or young. So, what my thing was, what if I had a scarf on yesterday? It could have been like a hoodie to somebody else. And then you pulling people over for supposed to be probable causes, but you didn't have a probable cause. Where is it taking us? So elaborate on it.
Yeah, I think the incident you're referring to happened some time ago. I did get wind of that. But the law says about you covering your face, and that could be a camouflage, a hoodie, cover your face. I think the officer in that particular case did not, was a little zealous with the rules, but that's not a common practice. I mean, you're talking about one person, one incident. Once it's brought into the light, there's a level of accountability from our police department, from the officers on the street, and from my office to make sure that type of thing, that type of harassment, or that type of level of being uncomfortable with a hoodie on is not the common day practice. You know what I'm saying?
Especially in your car. When
you
feel like,
in your car.
I mean,
I did hear about that,
now, yeah.
but I only heard about the one incident, and I told him I don't want to hear about this no more. You know what I'm saying? This is not going to be the reputation of the Brownsville Police Department as long as you work for me. It's clearly understand. Our police officers go over and above. Every circumstance is not perfect, but we address it. You know what I'm saying?
When I got wind of it, I said there has to be somebody new.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I said.
We address it. You know what I'm saying? It's not okay. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Once we come complacent with that type of behavior or treatment, then we way worse off than we were to begin with. But in that particular incident, the thing, the charges were filed, it was brought to the light, but people feeling comfortable enough to say, well, I don't like this. Just like you're saying now, there was a time and a place with that plantation mentality. Just don't say nothing. Just don't say nothing. That day is over. You know, people, you know, our young people are going to say something. And I think, but address it to me. Come to me. Come sit down and talk to our police department. Say, this was an incident that I felt harassed or felt I was discriminated against, or that I felt made me feel uncomfortable in my car coming from work. That's not what we're about in Brownsville, Tennessee. So that's an isolated incident, and it's not the rule of the day. So and I you know, and anytime you hear about something like that, I'll get your details and facts together. Come see me.
That's exactly what I did. I called an officer I knew, and I was like, "Hey, I need information on this."
Yes.
It just hit me tonight, and you saying it happened so long ago, and I'm like, my mind went everywhere.
Yes, this happened some time ago. I can't give you a definite timeline, but it was addressed and moved on. Yeah, about 5-6 months ago. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like something you hear about every day.
About a couple, because it just started getting cold. No, 5-6 months ago,
because he was
working at the
right.
It was a while ago. It was a while ago. So, but the difference is now that, you know, when you feel that way or you see an incident like that, you can be brought to the light and just make sure that we get the correct. One of the most difficult things I have is people getting the incorrect information.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why I say social media can be a tool or a weapon. You know what I'm saying? If you have a voice and you about what's righteous, you should definitely use social media. But if you're putting out incorrect information, people love it, and then they feed on it. They love the negative, and then it creates more of a divide. Since I took office, I've emphasized community policing, and I tell the officers, take off your shades, get out of your car, and talk to people. You know, our whole SOS initiative is about bringing us together. The Back to School Big Brothers, which y'all do, everything is about connecting. Because we used to know who our police officers are. We knew who Adrian, Jared, and Darryl Bowles, and you know, Dexter. We knew who everybody was, and they knew you. Oh man, slow down. What you doing? So that small town feeling, but making sure we have some good officers. They come through. A lot of them you don't know because it's about the money. They stay for their 3-year contract, and they move on to Jackson where they get assigned and bonus some more money. Then we got to bring somebody new in. Our selection board is real careful, and I always communicate with the police department. These are people we work for. These are the people, the taxpayers, the people who pay our paycheck. And so we have to make sure the laws are obeyed, but you do it in a courteous and respectful way. And it's just about an attitude and a mindset. And some have gone, and some have stayed, and some have come back. And so I try to make sure that police department is the most exposure that your community has. You see the police officer way more you'll see me. So it's important. They represent you. You know what I'm saying? Represent you. You should not be fearful of them. They're to protect and serve. Yeah. So it's about attitude.
Well, I think we got to take in consideration how they train.
Right.
When they at the gun range.
Oh my.
Yeah, you took. Yeah.
When they at the gun range, what's on the thing? It's a man with a hoodie on. Mm-hmm. When they look on the news, you see a man with a hoodie on. So psychologically, he already trained to think when he sees somebody with a hoodie on to go. Yeah. Now, being that they change the rule and say it's the face, then if the officer was in the wrong, me personally, I like sources. Mm-hmm. I don't like to deal with the storyline. I want to deal with the source. Exactly. The source of the problem, or with the situation, I wouldn't call it a problem, is that the officer already trained when he sees somebody with a hoodie on to think criminal. You can go in any police department around the United States of America. When you look at somebody that they looking for, it's going to be 9 times out of 10, it's somebody with a hoodie on. We got to educate our people to think. Right? They already classifying and looking for this. They looking for this. Goodness. Why give them that?
Exactly right.
Don't give it to them. Yeah.
It's simple. My mama and grandma told me something a long time ago, and now it makes sense. Live so that you make them alive. If they looking for you to present yourself this way, why even go? Why even do it?
Yeah. So it leads me to my next topic. Sean, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm good. I'm good on that one. I had heard about it. I'm glad that it is, you know, what it is.
It just absolutely. Hit me last night, but I actually picked up the phone and I was like, hey, you know, to this officer, let me know, you know, about this going on. So, yeah. And so my next question. We're gonna bring politics, government, you know, community, decision, business together. So, you know, Brownsville, we had a couple of occurrences on violence, gun violence and things like that. Far as, like, some people, we just think, you know, some places have youth detentions. Mm-hmm. So, what would be you all's thought on having a detention center here? Would it promote more violence, or would it, you know, what would be your?
Well, yeah, that's a tough question, but I'd like to see more youth centers. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
To where we don't have to get to the youth detention. It's a shame the number of young brothers that we see. That prison pipeline does begin in the third grade. I encourage everybody to take a look at the Leader in Me program that's been implemented at Haywood Elementary. It just teaches that respect, love, and accountability, character building program. I had to push from that from behind the scenes. Like I said, that was another incident where I didn't feel like I had to be in front. That was a product of the education system. But we have one school system here. So all our kids in one elementary school, all the kids in one middle school. And we started the middle school, but it's really at the elementary school. If we have more programs like the Leader in Me, if we have more churches to open up their gymnasiums for summer basketball playing, if we utilize the Carver School and gymnasium, that whole campus, for youth programs. I've tried with the summer break, spring break, and you've done some things too. And that's just something we got to build on. And I think we won't need as many youth detention centers if we put more education, more emphasis on bringing them up the right way. That's just my off the top. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I say I'm against that. The detention. It's just like you got a bad dog. If you take that bad dog and you throw him in a cage, that dog ain't like nothing. You just locked him up. So when you let that dog out the cage, it's going to do the same thing because you didn't train it or give it nothing to learn. So if we got these young brothers and they carrying they self the wrong way, putting them in a cage, putting them in a system, ain't going to teach them nothing. Because when they get out, they're going to keep on doing the same thing because nobody took the time to train them. Right. But if you take a hard-headed dog and you send them to training school and you teach them how to sit, you teach them how to lay down, and you teach them how to, that dog can behave. It's the training. So if we bring a detention center, that's the same thing we doing to our black men and our young brothers when we send them to the penitentiary. We're just throwing them to the wayside. We're not trying to fix the problem. We get them out the way. Yeah. But then that individual got to come back in the streets. So what we got to do, we're going to keep on throwing them to the wayside. That's the pipeline. We're going to keep on throwing you there because don't nobody want to take the time to give you something tangible. But if we implement something strong, knowledge, wisdom, that's how you change. When I was ignorant, I was just ignorant. It wasn't until somebody gave me some books and a dictionary and showed me how to really read the book. That made me change my perception in life. And then I was able to look at everything that I was going through and everything around me and see different. These young brothers, mine is a wonderful place. They made the computer off the mind. The cells and how it connect. And one thing, you can log in your computer and look for one thing and it connect you to everything. That's the same way your mind works. But in order for that mind to work, you got to give it something.
And I'm gonna be a little tougher with you because I understand.
I already know what you think about. Go ahead.
Like I said, I'm representing the business sector tonight, but I understand it as a business, but I'm against it also. I am. I feel like we don't need it if we got programs, you know. So, being that I've never experienced the criminal side, but I get to experience the governmental side. So, far as things happening and who's to pay the bill, this and that. I didn't until I got in. I didn't understand who takes on the bill.
Right.
So this bill of putting somebody here is, somebody pays that. As far as the government, they pay that, and that can be a $20,000 bill, a $30,000 bill, depending on when your court date is. So, on government side, like, where would you see that going?
And I know when you posed the question and they were talking, my mind went totally somewhere else. It went there because, if a youth does something here, then we don't have the facilities locally to accommodate housing them if they have to go there. Totally against them going there. There needs to be a lot of prevention to keep them from going that route. But when that happens, we have to send them away because we don't have the facility here to do that. And we do that at whatever facility can take them. It has availability. We really don't have a lot of say in that. And then the amount that they charge government to house is what it is. It could be $130 a day or $175 a day, which is probably, we're probably paying more. Probably, I don't have the facts on this, but we're probably paying more to house them in an institutional facility than we are to educate them. And so that's just a hard call, but that happens. And in our most recent incident, incident that happened, and the county picked up the bill. And that's just the way that it happens. The one thing is we had no control on what they were doing in that county. We didn't know how they were treating our youth. We did, there's a lot of things that we don't know. I don't think we're in a position governmentally to start building something like that. I think where our stance should be as a community and as a government is to start to put the monies in the other areas that we can help them, and don't look to, because let me tell you, there's an old saying, if you build it, they will come.
Yes.
So let's not start to build that so we can have a place to put them. Let's start to put more money into the educational realms and the program realms so that we don't have that problem. And I mean, it happens, but I don't see us as a community government wise building that type of facility for our youth.
Yeah. Dr. Willie Harrington had a proposal in Shelby County for a youth-based facility to come because the need was so great, and because his background in education. I don't think it took off. The funding wasn't there, but he did propose. He had a plan. We're talking about putting a plan together where there could be some rehabilitation done, some nurturing, so he had the concept that we're looking for now. He has it on paper. I don't think this community can support that type of thing, but he did look at it from a regional perspective in Shelby County.
Okay. So before we wrap this up, we want to thank Mud Brothers for having us at this round table to have this
discussion. Over? What?
But no, we got
Brother Shaheed ain't broke a sweat yet. It can't be over.
I think we got the passion on the other side of them. But far as taking away from, when I have a discussion, I always want to take something away from the table and see what we can do with it. Also, so what would be your final takeaway from this discussion, Mayor?
The same way I say in the middle, better communication. I think this is an awesome opportunity. I thank you for inviting us, and thank you for having a format to do it. We have so many distractions for our young people. It's just about gathering their attention, getting their attention, and communicating together. First, we got to show that we together and we on the same page. We got to have the same unified message. I want to encourage everybody that the census is coming up. The 2020 census is going to determine a whole lot of things about funding, accountability. Don't say the same attitude about voting as you do about the census. Please stand up and be counted in the census. I think it's important that we educate our people about the importance of being accounted.
Elaborate on what the census is for the younger generation.
The census is a federal accounting that's done every 10 years of the number the population account, whether it be age, race, I think probably your per capita income, things of that nature, the things that will allow us to get the resources. But from a political standpoint, it changes district lines. It does. It changes governmental lines in terms of districts and wards, county commission, state representatives, and there is a plan in place to make sure that they can gerrymandering is what it's called, is they can move those lines based on the census, so the voting power. We have a voting block in Brownsville right now. But that's rare. And I'm saying from Afro American perspective. But if they we don't stand up and be accounted for, and I say the same thing for the Hispanic population. I understand their concerns, but you're gonna have to stand up and be accounted for. If you're going to church, you're working hard, you believe in education, you have values, you need to be a part of the census, because it's going to determine a lot of things as far as our voting power and our resources. So better communication on things like census or voting and things of that nature. Be a part. Be a part of your community and communicate your concerns.
Another thing folks got to understand when you talk about, like he said, working in jobs, they got to understand that their job got to let them go vote and got to pay them.
Yes.
Some jobs got to give you an hour or 2 hours and 3 hours. I think the problem is that this is what the people think, that they vote don't count anyway. Because they're looking at the city votes like they look at the presidential votes. The electoral votes pick the president. Your vote picks the city officials. So a lot of people didn't vote because they thinking that the mayor it go off electoral. So the problem is that we talking about voting, we just ain't teaching them what a vote really is and how it operates. So to the community, electoral votes is picked off the popular vote of the presidential run. When he talking about city officials, sheriff, or county mayor and all that right there, that goes off of just per voting. The problem is that even with the vote that like they was in, they got us. Because what they did was strategic. They threw a lot of people in there just to dilute the vote. It's some of them folk didn't even want to run. But they knew the agenda. They already knew who they wanted in there.
Right.
They just wanted to go vote. Go, run. Why? Because it gonna break down the power structure.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So once we understand what voting is, how it's voting, what we can do, and what we, you know what I mean? And once we get that back into the minds of the people, we be straight.
You saying the power of the people is greater than the people in power.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you know, listen, nobody threw me in, baby. I was always in by myself. I made the decisions by myself. And you know, and but you're right. You know what happens? My takeaway is communications and unify. And bringing that closing that gap for us and educating each other. You know, we are so much better together. I could have done this podcast with just myself, or Christian could have done it just by herself, or Brother Shaheen, the Mayor Ross, but we are so much better together. And so, and Christian shine doesn't dim my light at all. Right. And that as a community, we've got to learn that you know, if Brother Shaheen is speaking Shaheen is speaking somewhere, it doesn't dim the mayor's light. The mayor has his own shine. And so once we get over somebody dimming somebody else's light, right. Christian, I want you to be most successful as a county commissioner. Christmas basket fund, we're going to make sure that thing rolls and that it is most successful. And we've got to keep on doing that, because we can elect and do whatever we want to do. This is our town. Yes. The one thing that equalizes out, somebody can have more money than me. Right. But when I go, they only get one vote, just like I get.
That's right.
That's all they get. And so what people have to understand about your vote in the county, people say, I don't vote, it don't make me no difference who wins. But if you work in an industry in Haywood County, if the commission decides or the city decides to raise a tax, and you work at Haywood Company, let's just use that for an example. Hypothetically, you work at Haywood Company. If our taxes get too high, people at Haywood Company home office, Maryland or wherever it is, start saying, you know, I'm about to move that factory from Brownsville. So you better go vote if you work in industry. If you work in anywhere, because industry pays some of the largest property taxes in Haywood County and in the city of Brownsville. And if that starts to rise because of the people we elect say let's rise it, then bye-bye job. Yeah. Same way, if you have something that wants to come in and somebody says nope, not coming, and they take a vote on it, bye-bye job, bye-bye, you know, new house, new car, all of that. So your vote does count. You want people in office that, one, has an open door policy that you can communicate with, and they can hear your voice and understand where you've been and where you're going. So it all makes a difference. The census woman used to come to the house when I was young. We stayed down here on Windsor Road. They come sit on the porch with you, and they say, how many people in here? And how much money y'all making? Is that your granddaughter? You got some water in there? You know, but that's not how it's done now. You're right. They call, and you see it on your cell phone. You don't want to answer because the 800 number may be a robocall. Answer the phone. If it comes in the mail, get it out, fill it out, and put it back, because it means a lot. It's going to get all in your business. How many people in the house, how much money you make, what cereal you eat, all of that. So, but we got to fill it out, because it's going to make such a huge difference moving forward 2020, how our lines have drawn. We may draw a line now. Our state representative lines are Haywood, Crockett, and Lauderdale. At one point, that wasn't our district. Our district was Haywood and Hardeman County, because they connected. And then it went from Haywood to Tipton County and connected. And now we have those three. So it makes a difference how those lines are drawn. They base it on the census and some other critical material and data from our community. So go vote. Let's communicate with each other. And we got to close this gap and unify.
Right. And then keep what y'all have going on. We need to get our younger leaders registered to vote.
Absolutely.
Get them in position to get ready to, you know, run and take on the position of some other people that's stepping out of office. Right. Like you said, we're going to need another Mayor Ross. We're going to need, you know, another commissioner, not just, you know, it's time to shadow some other students into those positions. Go back and grab them. And I can understand the children coming to you, but what if they don't know why they're coming to you? It's just time to get back together into, bringing our community back together.
And and even if things don't work out like you planned, I ran and I didn't win. Now it's not the time for me to sit down.
Right.
There is a lot of work to do.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a lot of things that need to happen. I don't have to be in front. I can push from the back.
Right.
So I encourage everybody to get involved. Don't be just saying why the mayor didn't do that. Get your petition and run.
Yeah.
Get your stuff together and get in there and fight and and have a voice. We did a cigars and politics. It was a wonderful event, and we are gonna have another event. Hopefully in December, if we can fit it in and schedules don't get where we're asking people that were elected to come back, sit down with this group and have conversation with us. And those that don't come, then we got you. 2020, we got you. But we want to keep this conversation. We want to keep this conversation going. Yes. And we want to educate our voters. We want them to know why we vote for people, why we push people. And we don't want to have just an identity politics, because that's not the totality of who we are. That I just vote for somebody because they're black. No. I need to vote for them because they black, because they white, or they Hispanic. They know what they're talking about. They understand the government. They know how to build a consensus. They know how to get things done. That's why I want somebody leading, not because just for this one thing.
Exactly.
And we got to get together and say, this is what we think. This is who we are, and be strong and firm on that.
And in that light, I know we're closing out, but I just want to say, when you see Alderman Travis Pugh, he in the light of all the confusion, misinformation, we had a young man that stepped up to the plate. Reverend Averhart was ready to go home, and it was time for him to go home. We appreciate what Reverend Averhart done, but Travis stepped up. This man works every day. He's a product of our community. He believes in his community. He's done community service. You know what I'm saying? His family, he's keeping his family together. He stepped up to the plate, and I just want to say, anybody, if you see him, pat him on the back, say thank you, because he's an example. He is. The door that I opened, and I had to have we had to have a come to Jesus conversation with Travis. Man, it ain't gonna be easy. You know what I'm saying? And he is so ready to go to work, to do the work. Yeah. He is so ready. So not just follow my example, but you have people like Travis who who stepped up. Yeah, and the Shaheed.
That's right. I'm telling you that.
Shaheed had his
I come to Jesus for you. Once you step up to be a leader, you can't take that back, Shaheed.
That's right.
Can't take
That's
it back.
right. That's
it.
Look,
I can't say I'm an entrepreneur, because that's what I stick to. I stick to entrepreneurship, and I push people in entrepreneurship. But I just couldn't stay there and just do my own thing and not push nobody else.
That's
you
right.
just can't. You can't take a leader role and then pull back. So I'm ready to see where Mr. Knowledge gonna have us, and as far as leadership and what's next in his life. So.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll roll it out.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
I do want to work with the mayor and what's name on trying to get the churches involved.
Oh
and aim for the something.
Yeah.
So if the goal, if we can start now, and then get where the cigars and politics and haircuts and shaves and Big Brothers and SOS. If all of us, instead of everybody doing an individual thing, I say let's go ahead and come together now.
Yes.
Implement a plan, and that way, when as soon as them kids get the ones that's gonna graduate, go, and then the summer let out, we need to the next day need to be something for them to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And don't give them no space and time to, you know what I mean? And that way we can implement and start it. Because back in the day when we were growing up, we had stuff. They don't know how to tie ties. They don't know how to fill out no checkbooks. They don't know they don't know nothing. So if we catch them at that age, by the time they get ready for the world, they good. The other communities, their children are prepared. When they 18, they finna hit the ground and they running.
Yeah.
Ours is still trying to figure it out.
Still trying to figure
it out. So I want to work with the mayor, the chief, who all this, y'all. SOS.
Sharonda's still stepping. So.
Everybody, especially the ones that was running that didn't win. Right. They need to come here too.
Absolutely.
Because if you said that you were doing it because you love, then where your heart at now.
That's right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I feel like if we all can come together, I'm willing to put my pride to the side and my beliefs to the side in order for us to get it. Because if it can be done in Brownsville, It can be done in Lauderdale.
Yeah,
It can
right.
abroad.
It can be done in Covington.
Yes.
If it can be done in Memphis.
Yes.
It can be done.
And it was
done.
done.
If we can push the change out. It don't necessarily have to be Memphis. It just got to be the light. It's just like a fire.
Right.
That fire that tore up California, it didn't start big.
Right.
It's all it took was just a little bit,
right.
and it burnt up everything. So if
right.
we trying to make a change, all we got to do is implement something now. We sit down like we did here. We get everybody an opportunity to express themselves. What's the goal? What do we want to do? We roll it out, and we see if we got to raise money. We raise the money ourselves. We don't involve nobody else.
That's right.
Because if we raise it ourselves, then nobody can tell us what to do.
Exactly.
Amen.
In the change in our
That's
community.
right. That's
But
right.
if we start taking these handouts from these different organizations, then they want you to go by the bylaws.
Yeah.
That's how we losing our children, because the bylaws and the rules ain't for us.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The game ain't designed for us. But if we can go out here and we design our own plan, implement our own plan, we can save our own children. So I'll be quiet. That's good.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking to team up, and actually, I got some classes that I'm wanting to push out myself to go into these neighborhood with at-risk children, families, friends, even just somebody that needs help with a vision, and push them to see. You know, you don't have to go get a job. You can have that start, but like me, I started my first business with $50 and end up with 3 different businesses.
Right.
Wow.
So I mean, and now I'm at a place to where I can go to the job center and say, hey, I need to hire 3 or 4 people. That's just where I'm at now. As far as in the holiday season, I'm like, I'm over my head. Like, I need somebody tomorrow. So, I mean, it's just you, like you are right, just going into that community and implementing what we need to do. And as much as we can to keep the guidelines, you know, out of it, then, you know, and that's more, you know, pressure on our churches. And we do need pressure on our churches here. So, I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yay.
I'm expecting a part 2. What about
Absolutely.
y'all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sign me
Let me
up.
know. Yeah.
Thank you, Mud Brothers.
Thank you, Mud Brothers.
Y'all got a sign? What's your sign?
I got one question before y'all leave. We talked about it. We didn't get a chance to talk about it at the table, but I want you to tell people about the job center or that place.
Oh, yeah.
Just
So
let everybody know where that is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Mary, you want to speak?
No, you'll go right here. Go
Well,
ahead.
I just found out about it. The job center on Tam Street. I don't know all of it, what it consists of yet, but I'm working on something with a young lady that needs some extra help going to school, getting back and forth to college, and there's some assistance there that's actually helping her with that, you know, funding to help her get back and forth to school, because she really wants to be there, but she had trouble. Her car broke down. She was catching Southwest or something, and they want to bill her, and she's just taking a step at a time, and she can. And the funding came open, and they were looking for people, Miss Pearson. So that's how I found out about it.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
the American Job Center is a key component, and
is.
people
Yeah.
it's so underutilized.
Yeah.
You know, people in situations of despair don't know about the resources available, like the American Job Center. They're intimidated by the process, and there's a certain segment of our community just giving up hope. And I think tonight we started a conversation about restoring that hope in our young people, and then pointing them to the resources, putting a plan on paper.
Right.
We can do this. We
Absolutely.
have an obligation to do this.
Absolutely.
So
And
I'm
it
in.
can't take one person. The mayor can't do everything. Shaheed can't do
Yeah.
everything. Sharonda can't do everything. So it's going to take other people, fresh ideas, new passion. You know, not new passion, but just passion to get behind it and do something. So
That's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to thank all y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know y'all busy schedule.
Yay, Mud Brothers!
I appreciate it, man. We can wrap it up, man.
And we want to say,
Peace and blessings.
yeah, and Mud Brothers, go like it, go view them on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Mud Brothers. So.
Yeah, man.
I don't do no fucking friends. Mud Brothers, we gon' thug it to the end. I keep a shooter, please don't make me serve a man. 200 solid, we gon' split it to a band. Mud Brothers, that's my fucking Mud Brothers. If I'm with them, then you know they Mud Brothers. Swear to God, boy, I love my Mud Brothers. Did it all, I was with my Mud Brothers. Mud Brothers, they're my fucking Mud